easier to integrate AI within higher education than it is to do it within K-12 education. But before we delve into the discussion of higher education, I would like my panel to take some time to introduce themselves and also what they do. They come from very, very diverse areas and very diverse interests, and I think it would be really interesting for us to get to know them and their work a little bit better before we delve into the discussion of the role of AI and the impact of AI on higher education. So with that, guys, if you can maybe introduce yourself in 2 to 3 minutes each, who you are and what you do, and then we can move on to discussion.
Can you hear me? So thank you, Dr. Osama, and thank you to Inozera for inviting us. I'm Shumail. I'm the co-founder and chief technology officer of LearnWorks. We're an edtech company, started back in 2014. So we've been evangelizing experiential learning at school level. So essentially what we're doing is we're trying to connect education to future careers. And that's one of the most important things that we understand is that this is one of the major problems that kids face. Once they graduate, they don't have the right kind of skills. So back in 2014, me and my co-founder, we sat down and we thought about what can we do to improve this problem or to address this problem. And that's the time when we started experimenting with experiential learning and project-based learning, where we thought about how can we make education interesting, and how can we inspire kids to basically before they go on to higher education and before they go on into jobs, they can actually start learning and and loving what they do. So that's essentially what we've been doing for the past 10 years, and happy to be here.
Thank you, Shumail. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Masroor Khan. I'm representing Federal Ministry of Education and Professional Training. I'm a distance learning specialist at the ministry. So my presence and my colleagues' presence here is very evidence that public sector's interest is always there, where there is innovation, where there is technology, and where there is a potential solution available through expertise which are on the national disposal and international disposal. So the biggest evidence we carry along, as my colleague has also mentioned, that from the strategy to bringing in and onboarding all the tech players, the technology players into our ministry and rolling out these programs even into our public sector has been our priority. So as a result of that, we have almost launched about 9 projects now pertaining to distance education, and they are heavily relying upon LMS, education technology, innovation, etc. So these projects, we are focusing them on the public sector schools, because biggest debate or biggest argument we get is that, okay, the privileged will get it, but what about the underprivileged? So we are involved in these activities. We are trying our best to provide equity on those basis through these projects. So during the discussion, I'll discuss a little bit more in the context of these projects we are rolling out and how those are relevant to today's discussion. Thank you.
Sabi,
Alright, so my name is Mohammad Sabi Anwar. I'm a professor of physics. I'm a PhD in quantum physics from Oxford. Since 2007, I've been working as a faculty member at LMS, the School of Science and Engineering. Since the past 3 years, I've been the Dean of the School of Science and Engineering, which means that I've been tasked with looking after one of Pakistan's most active and vibrant and thriving academic science, technology and innovation center. Besides that, my own work in my laboratory, which is called Phys Lab, focuses on making the tools of scientific discovery. That is, we make scientific instruments for learning and for research. So these instruments then go out into our universities. So our laboratory has been replicated in 10 other Pakistani universities, and there is a lot of spillover into schools and colleges as well. So one of the biggest problems that we see, and I can talk more about this in the ensuing discussion, is that it's all about digital learning, it's all about ed tech, but really the skills that our students are lacking are have to do something with dexterity, with creativity, and for this they need tools, they need instruments, they need 3D printers, they need additive manufacturing, they need sensors, they need loggers. So all of this requires instruments. So we make instruments and we build curriculums and manuals that go with those instruments. The final thing that I love to do with my team, and we've been doing this for about 2 decades, is popularizing science, making mobile museums, temporary mobile science STEM museums, and we go out into villages, we go out into schools around the country, we organize this big science mela, which is a community fair. Last year the mela attracted about 60 to 70,000 people in Lahore. So the goal is to inculcate and pique the interest of our students, our teachers, and our citizens in STEM. So these are the different kinds of things that we work on, and I'll be happy to answer more questions.
Great, thank you very much, Sabi. So, I guess you've introduced yourself. Can you talk a little bit about how whatever you do and whichever institution you represent, how does AI affect your work, instrument building, STEM tools, etc. And what is kind of your institution's policy towards AI? So particularly with respect to the federal government and university at LUM. So what's the debate right now? Is there a policy, etc.? Maybe we can start with Shumail.
So one of the things that we were actually discussing before this session is that AI has been, it's not something new. So artificial intelligence and systems learning has been, it's not a new subject. But tools these days, have become accessible. So that's one of the things that become, that started this debate. So in our work that we do, we're trying to figure out, when we started, we kept using this quote, and this quote, I think this is from Forbes or one of the top publications, that 65% of the jobs that exist today won't even exist in the next coming decade. And now we're actually seeing that is happening right now. So we've seen, apps replace humans. We've seen the taxi drivers that were, the black taxis that used to be prevalent in Pindi, Islamabad, that used to charge on their own, and they've been completely replaced by, apps like Careem and Uber. So we're going to see a similar kind of, thing happen with other kind of jobs. So that's the kind of debate that we are having, and we're trying to understand how to build these, tools within our curriculums that in the work that we do. So the kind of work, I'll also take this opportunity to talk about the work that we do. We've been working with the government, we've been enabling schools with this kind of experiential learning in STEM, where kids actually learn by doing, they learn by creating things. So that's one of, and we believe that the skill that we create through this is actually problem solving and creativity and innovation. So so in most of our curriculums are not that standard, they're not that standard, so we keep them open on purpose. In fact, in some of the cases, we also create hardware kits, and the hardware kits have problems in them. And we leave those problems in them because we want the kids to identify and fix those. So if we are creating products that have problems, we let the kids actually fix them. So that's what we think is going to happen with AI as well. There are tools now available that are publicly accessible, and the debate right now is how are they going to actually change future jobs, and what should we do essentially at LearnAwards to bring that in within our curriculums. So one of the things that we've directly talked about is how can we just include ChatGPT, and at least as a minimum, as we work with kids from age 8 to 16, so as a minimum, how can we at least make them learn to use this tool in their daily lives? That's one of the minimum things that we're trying to do. And essentially we're also discover and figure out what new tools we can actually build in, and how this is going to play out in the coming future.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So you asked a very relevant question regarding the policy development and accepting the artificial intelligence as a new existence of new innovation. So on the ministries and on the public sector, basically initially we recognized the value of this artificial intelligence by finding out, obviously, from the private sector, public sector, especially the recent COVID experience actually informed us a lot on how this artificial intelligence can be beneficial in terms of many interventions what the government is planning through their donors, through their funding bodies, NGOs, and people working with them. And within the organizations as well. So once we realized the importance of AI, so that actually led us to the strategy what you have just seen. So that's the valid evidence of national digital or innovation strategy that ministry or its associated departments or the individuals who are working within the similar domain, they want to bring in some policy or some sort of acceptance of this artificial intelligence into its mainstream education, not only for K to K-12 but also for professional training, because we carry the mandate of professional training as well. So obviously the acceptance of this technology is linked with what technology we are actually utilizing in our schools, what kind of technology we are providing to our public sector, because our mandate is obviously first to look after the children of public sector or maybe those who are not even in schools. So our policy and the strategies, as you have seen, is fully governing those areas, that what we can provide in terms of technology, what we call these physical infrastructure, and then enable those learners to access those technologies to its optimized level. What we are talking here is artificial intelligence. On the other hand side, we also realize the benefit of artificial intelligence in terms of data collection. So we have a Pakistan Institute of Education whose mandate is to collect the national data regarding the educational performance. So despite needed its own innovation, first of all. So we are at those steps and we are basically fulfilling those requirements by bringing in all the experts, the youngsters, the people who can actually work on those artificial intelligence technologies and bring on the optimized level of those technologies backed up by the policy. But second thing, just let me finish on that. Second thing is about what was discussed in the panel before, that whether AI should be fully embedded into the mainstream education or not. Is it safe to use? It is not safe to use. So that's another area which our policy is looking into, that how to make it at least nationally regulated. Obviously, international regulation is not in place here. So we're looking into how nationally we can regulate the use of AI so that we can ensure the children's safety online and what the users are using it for. So that's the policy that I wanted to know.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
So AI, which is modern day advanced machine learning oriented signal processing, has been in vogue for many years. So it's the new tools, as Shumail mentioned, which have led to the blossoming of this field as a globally recognizable field. So traditionally, if you have a vibrant computer science and an engineering program, AI has always been there in the best Pakistani universities. Similarly, in our School of Science and Engineering, I would say 1/4 of our faculty members, a quarter of the faculty members, they work on AI, machine learning, data-oriented related research. And the good thing is that they need not be just placed in a computer science department. Physics, mathematics, and even biology has a good proportion of AI systems experts embedded into these disciplines. So I think our universities need to break some barriers. They need to get more AI people into the traditional science disciplines, into the traditional engineering disciplines, and not just electrical engineering or computer science. So really, this calls for a paradigm shift on how our academia views AI. The second thing is that with the advent of ChatGPT, I think there's no question of not accepting this technology. It's there, it's going to permeate our lives, and likewise it's going to kind of pervade our academia, be it the higher education institution or the lower education institution. So we really have to adopt and improvise in how we adapt to this technology. So there's really no question of evading AI. It's there to stay. We also should be mindful of not over-regulating AI, because in our country, when it comes to public policy and the government sector, generally we are too fast on regulating things and curtailing the kind of creative license that comes with the technology. So our public policy, I would say, has to be mindful of this trap. Finally, keeping in view the promise of this discipline, we're going to launch a master's in artificial intelligence from spring of 2024. This is going to be an industry validated master's. It's going to have a hybrid model, so working industrialists, medical doctors, pharmacists, economists, policy analysts who want to learn about AI tools can enroll in this program. They can come on a weekend for their classes. Many classes will be hybrid and online. So our university is, I think, quite open to the idea of taking this up.
Interesting. So, AI is something that a lot of people are worrying about. In fact, this week's Economists, one of the articles in the Economist talks about how to worry about AI wisely. I haven't heard about worrying wisely ever before, so this is the first time. And so there is a lot of concern within all kinds of circles, all kinds of people, that this is going to seriously disrupt the learning models, etc. But what I said in the beginning, do you feel that as compared to K-12 education, this ChatGPT and AI types of technologies are less disruptive and more adaptive within the higher education, or do you feel higher education will also face a very serious crisis as a result of this?
Yeah, so that's a very relevant debate that's been going on, in all the universities all over the world, and I think, it's just my opinion. I'm not a policy maker nor am I a decision maker at this stage. But it's my opinion that we should, adopt it. We should embrace it, and I think if we let kids make assignments through ChatGPT, all they're doing is learning a new kind of tool. And if an AI can actually do assignments, then what's the point of those assignments? So that's what I think. If a tool can do the job for you, then you don't need to learn that kind of job. That's what I think. It's all about, as long as you can learn the basics, as long as your basics are strong, it's all about, using tools, and that's what the future job market looks like. Right now, it's all about, for us, if we are an edtech company, within our company, our employees, the focus is to learn new tools all the time to effectively use our time, to reduce the workload, to find tools that can help us, so for example, this using ChatGPT, you can actually now write a script, plug it into another tool, and that can actually create a video for you. So the marketing team, you don't need a marketing at the moment. It's not as mature as it sounds like, but it's going to become mature very soon. So I think we need